Alex had always lived alone, enjoying the quiet of his small apartment in the city, where the hum of streetlights and the distant sirens formed the background to his ordinary life. That night, however, everything felt different. He was brushing his teeth, preparing to get ready for bed, when a soft splash echoed from the bathroom. At first, he assumed it was his imagination, perhaps water dripping from the faucet, but the sound repeated, deliberate, like someone had just stepped into the tub. His heart quickened as he cautiously approached, toothbrush still in his hand, wondering if he should call for help or check himself. But what he saw froze him in place. There, standing in his bathtub, was a small figure, wet and shivering, staring at him with large, luminous eyes that seemed to glow softly in the dim light. The figure was clearly humanoid, but everything about her was unusual. Her skin shimmered faintly, almost iridescent. Her hair clung to her face in wet strands that sparkled under the bathroom light, and her movements were delicate and precise, unlike any human he had ever seen. She raised a trembling hand, pointing at the sink, and in a soft, almost pleading voice whispered, "Please, I just need to wash." Alex's mind raced. Was it a hallucination? A prank? Some kind of bizarre emergency? He wanted to step back, but something in her gaze held him still, a mix of fear, innocence, and urgency that made it impossible to look away. He swallowed hard, trying to speak, but no words came. The air between them felt charged, as if her presence had shifted something fundamental in the room. She shivered again, and a tiny flicker of light seemed to pass over her skin as she stepped forward slightly. Alex, gathering courage, turned on the water and helped her fill the bathtub, all the while studying her carefully. Her hands were small, delicate, and her movements were surprisingly precise for someone so clearly disoriented. She lowered herself into the water and sighed, a sound that carried exhaustion and relief. Alex wanted to ask who she was, where she came from, and why she was in his apartment, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he watched in silence, feeling a mixture of awe and fear. The bathroom light reflected off her glowing skin, creating strange patterns on the walls, and Alex realized that every instinct in him screamed that this was no ordinary situation. He could sense her fear, her vulnerability, and something else, something powerful, almost electric in the air around her. As she washed, she spoke softly. I couldn't go back. They were following me." Her words, simple as they were, sent a chill down Alex's spine. He didn't ask who they were, but he felt the weight of danger in the room, the way the shadows seemed to twitch and shift when she moved, as if reacting to her presence. He helped her dry off and wrapped a towel around her shoulders, noticing how light her body was, almost ethereal, and how her eyes darted toward the door in the window, never resting for long. She kept glancing over her shoulder, whispering fragments of words that made no sense to him, hinting at a world he had never imagined, a danger he could not yet comprehend. The night stretched on, the silence punctuated by the occasional drip of water and the faint hum of the city outside. Alex tried to calm himself, to treat the situation rationally, yet the air in the apartment was thick with tension, and he could feel the energy emanating from the girl, almost like static electricity, brushing against his skin. For a moment, he wondered if he had stumbled into a dream or a hallucination. But the warmth of the towel on his hands and the steady, pleading gaze of the girl proved it real. And then, just as he thought he might finally ask her name, a soft noise came from outside the bathroom door, a shuffle, deliberate and cautious. Both Alex and the girl froze. Her glowing eyes widened slightly, and a faint, almost imperceptible pulse of light shimmered across her skin. "They know where I am," she whispered, voice trembling.
Alex's pulse quickened, panic rising, but
he realized he had a choice. He could flee and leave her alone, or he could face whatever danger was approaching with her. Despite the fear that clawed at him, he stepped forward, placing himself slightly between her and the door. Who is after you?" he asked finally, voice shaking. She did not answer directly. Instead, she reached out and touched his hand, a gesture that sent a strange warmth up his arm and made him feel an odd sense of connection, as if they were somehow linked. "They will not stop," she murmured, "and if they find me, no one will be safe." The sound of movement outside grew louder, more deliberate, and Alex knew that whatever had just begun was far from over. That night, in the quiet of his small apartment, he realized that his ordinary life had ended the moment he had opened the bathroom door. In its place was a world of secrets, danger, and wonder, centered on the fragile, glowing figure before him, an alien stranger whose simple plea had left him speechless, yet somehow determined to protect her, no matter what came next. After the tense encounter in the bathroom, Alex carefully led the alien girl, Lyra, to his small living room, wrapping a spare blanket around her trembling shoulders. The apartment felt impossibly quiet now, the city's usual hum muted against the tension building inside. Every creak of the floor, every faint sound from the street below, made them both flinch. Lyra's glowing skin, soft and mesmerizing, pulsed faintly with an almost nervous rhythm, and Alex couldn't help but stare, fascinated and afraid at the same time. She shivered, and he realized it wasn't just from the cold something in. Her energy hinted at fear far deeper than the fear of mere danger. "I can't stay here long," she whispered, her voice barely audible over his own heartbeat. "They are looking for me. They are close." Alex swallowed hard, trying to understand what he was saying and what kind of beings could be after a fragile, glowing girl like her. Before he could ask, a shadow flickered at the window. Alex froze, and Lyra's glow intensified, brightening the dim room like a warning signal. "Hide," she hissed, moving instinctively behind the sofa, and Alex did the same, peeking toward the window. Outside, he saw movement, dark, humanoid shapes slipping past the neighboring buildings, their outlines sharp in the pale light of the street lamps. They weren't human. The way they moved was too fluid, too deliberate, like predators. In perfect synchronization, Alex's pulse raced, and he realized that he had unknowingly brought a being of incredible importance into his home. Lyra, sensing his fear, reached out and touched his hand. The contact was warm, but there was something else, a faint pulse, almost like a heartbeat, not her own, syncing with his. He felt steadier, as if some invisible thread connected them, giving him courage he hadn't known he had. "You must understand," she said quietly. "I carry something they want, something that could change everything if it falls into the wrong hands." Alex's mind spun. He wanted to ask what it was, but the urgency in her voice stopped him. Instead, he nodded, silently promising to protect her. They waited, tense and silent, while the shadows outside shifted and vanished momentarily, only to reappear a few moments later. Lyra's glow pulsed in response, tiny sparks of light bouncing off the walls. She explained carefully, almost whispering, that her people were destroyed, that she was the last of her kind, and that knowledge she carried could either save or destroy entire worlds. Alex's heart pounded with disbelief. He had been alone in his apartment only hours ago, brushing his teeth. And now he was the protector of a being who carried the weight of the universe in her small frame. The sounds of movement outside grew, louder again, shuffling, deliberate. Lyra's eyes darted toward the door, and a small flash of her power sent a subtle ripple across the room. Objects nearby trembled slightly, papers lifting in the air, light flickering across the walls. Alex gasped, realizing she could manipulate energy in ways he didn't understand. "I can shield us for a short time," she whispered, "but they will not give up. You must help me escape now." Panic and adrenaline surged through Alex. He glanced at the door, then at Lyra, then at the window, realizing that staying put was not an option. He nodded, silently agreeing, and together they prepared to leave the apartment. As they moved, a loud knock rattled the front door, making them both freeze. The shadow of the pursuers loomed even closer now, and Alex's stomach dropped. Lyra whispered instructions, guiding him through secret pathways he hadn't noticed before. Down the fire escape, across dark alleys, and finally into a narrow side street. Every step was tense, every sound amplified in the night, and Alex could feel the strange energy surrounding Lyra, protective and alive. She led him to a secluded spot behind some dumpsters, her glow dimming to blend with the shadows while she scanned the surroundings for danger. Alex marveled at her focus. The way she seemed to anticipate every movement, every threat, every possible angle of attack. He understood now that she was more than just a scared alien girl. She was intelligent, powerful, and hunted for reasons he couldn't yet fully grasp. They waited in silence, listening to the distant sounds of their pursuers moving through the city. The tension was unbearable, yet Alex felt a strange calm beside Lyra, as if the danger itself had strengthened the bond between them. "I trust you," she whispered suddenly, a faint smile on her glowing face, "and I need you to keep trusting me." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, and knew that from this moment forward his life had changed forever. Night stretched on, the shadows around them shifting with the promise of danger, but Alex understood that together, human and alien, they might survive, and perhaps uncover the truth behind the forces chasing her. And as they waited, hearts pounding, the city around them, unaware of the extraordinary secret hiding in plain sight, Alex realized that this was only the beginning, the first night of a story far larger. It's more dangerous and more incredible than anything he had ever imagined. The city night seemed alive with danger as Alex and Lyra sprinted through the narrow alleys, their breaths sharp and ragged, hearts pounding like drums in their chests. Every shadow felt like it could move, every flicker of light a warning. The pursuers moved swiftly, their forms dark and fluid, gliding over walls and rooftops with a precision that made Alex's stomach churn. Lyra's glowing skin cut through the darkness like a beacon, yet somehow the shadows did not find her easily, as if she could bend the night itself to shield their path. Alex struggled to keep up, fear and adrenaline pushing him beyond exhaustion. "This way," Lyra called, leading him through a labyrinth of narrow passages and abandoned streets. The sounds of pursuit were relentless metal scraping, low hisses, whispers that sent shivers down his spine. Suddenly a figure lunged from the shadows faster than humanly possible, claws outstretched. Alex froze for a fraction of a second, and instinctively, Lyra raised her hand. A pulse of light erupted from her palm, striking the attacker and throwing it back with an invisible force, letting out a shriek that echoed through the alley. Alex stumbled, wide-eyed, realizing that her powers were not subtle, they could defend, repel, and even strike with lethal precision. She grabbed his arm and pulled him forward, vaulting over a chain-link fence with ease, landing lightly on the other side. Alex landed hard, pain shooting through his leg, but there was no time to pause. They moved like shadows, blending into the dark corners of the city, Lyra constantly scanning, anticipating, directing. The pursuers were clever, adapting quickly, but every time they approached, Lyra's energy pulsed, objects around them trembling or flying slightly to block the path, subtle but effective, buying them precious seconds. They ducked into an abandoned subway tunnel, the dim emergency lights flickering above, creating eerie reflections on the wet floors. Alex felt trapped, panic rising again, but Lyra's calm focus steadied him. "Keep moving," she urged. "They are fast, but we are faster together." As they ran, Alex noticed something incredible. The shadows themselves seemed to bend away from her light, almost alive, responding to her presence, forming a protective cocoon around them. The pursuers hesitated for a moment, uncertain, then surged forward, their speed unmatched, their intent deadly. Alex's heart hammered. He had never felt fear like this, a fear so sharp it cut through every thought. They came to a river running through the city, a narrow bridge spanning it. The pursuers were closing in just a few meters behind. Lyra grabbed Alex's hand again, eyes glowing fiercely. "Jump with me," she shouted. Without hesitation, Alex followed her lead. Together, they leaped off the edge, plunging into the icy water below. The current yanked at them, spinning, twisting, yet Lyra's hands held firm, guiding them safely downstream. The river roared, but her glowing light shimmered through the dark water, shielding them and keeping their path clear. Alex gasped, awe mixing with fear, realizing that her powers were far beyond anything he had imagined. Finally, the river spat them out onto a narrow, hidden embankment. Exhausted and soaked, they huddled behind some rocks, watching as the pursuers reached the riverbank above, confused and unable to locate them immediately. Alex's chest heaved, adrenaline coursing, while Lyra's glow dimmed to a soft, reassuring pulse. She turned to him, voice low but serious. "This is only the beginning. I will not stop until they get what I carry. I have to understand. Now we must move, and you must trust me completely." Alex nodded, trying to catch his breath, a strange mix of fear, respect, and awe coursing through him. He realized he had entered a world far larger than he had ever known, filled with danger, mystery, and powers beyond comprehension. The night stretched on, shadows and echoes of pursuit following them, but Alex also understood something else. He was no longer alone. He had someone extraordinary on his side, someone who could protect him, and someone who needed him to survive. And as the distant sounds of pursuit faded slightly, Alex felt the first spark of determination ignite inside him, feeling that this chase, terrifying as it was, had forged the start of something far greater than either of them he had imagined. The hunt was far from over, but together, human and alien, they had survived the night. And that survival would define what came next, as danger, mystery, and secrets waited just ahead. The night was quiet now, but it was the kind of silence that felt heavy, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Alex sat on the cold stone by the riverbank, shivering from the water that still clung to his clothes, his mind spinning with questions that had no easy answers. Across from him, Lyra stood with her back to him, her body glowing faintly like moonlight trapped in human form. She seemed otherworldly, fragile, yet unshakably strong. Her every movement graceful as if she was made of something not entirely of this earth. Alex wanted to speak, to demand answers, but every word he thought of sounded too small compared to what he had just seen. Finally, she turned, her expression calm, but her eyes glowing brighter now, as if she had made a decision. "You deserve to know," she said softly, her voice carrying a strange echo in the night air. "The danger you've seen is only the surface of what follows me. They are not just hunters, they are part of a war that started long before I came here." Alex's chest tightened. A war. The word itself sounded too vast, too unreal, but the intensity in her gaze told him she wasn't exaggerating. She lifted her hand, and a soft sphere of light appeared above her palm, spinning gently, casting ripples of white across the stone walls around them. Alex stared, unable to look away. It wasn't just light. Within it he could see moving images, shadows, of stars, broken planets, vast ships drifting through endless void. "I come from a place your kind has never seen," Lyra continued, her tone both proud and sorrowful. "My people were once guardians of peace, but we were betrayed, hunted, scattered across galaxies. What I carry now," she paused, looking down at the light in her palm, her expression tightening, "is what they fear. A memory, a key, something that can either save my people or destroy them forever." Alex swallowed hard, his voice shaky as he finally found the courage to speak. "And those things chasing us, they want it." Lyra nodded slowly, the glow around her pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. "They are not human. They are creatures shaped by the ones who destroyed my world. They feed on silence, on fear, and they will not stop until they have taken everything from me, from us." Alex felt a chill run through him, but alongside it, a spark of something else, a strange pull, a sense that he wasn't just hearing a story, he was becoming part of it. He thought of the way she had saved him in the alley, the way the shadows had seemed to bend away from her light. "Why me?" he asked suddenly, his voice breaking the stillness. "Why my home? Why my bathroom?" For the first time, Lyra smiled faintly, though it was touched with sadness. "Because I was desperate," she admitted. "And because something inside me told me to trust you. I cannot explain it, but your presence shields me. You ground me when my power threatens to consume everything. Without that, I would already be lost." Alex blinked, stunned into silence. He wanted to deny it, to push away the weight of her words, but the memory of her glowing light protecting them, the force that had saved them more than once, wouldn't let him. She trusted him not, just as a stranger she stumbled into, but as someone who mattered to her survival. That trust settled deep inside him, heavier than fear, stronger than doubt. Lyra raised her hand again, and this time the light expanded, wrapping around them like a dome. Within it, Alex saw flashes of battles he couldn't understand, alien soldiers with armor like living metal. Cities that floated among stars, entire worlds crumbling under waves of fire, able to process the enormity of it. But Lyra's voice was steady. I cannot hide anymore. My power is growing. And if I don't use it carefully, it could destroy not only me, but anyone near me. That is why the hunters come. They know the key is waking inside me, and they fear what will happen if it chooses to act. Alex stared at her, the glow reflecting in his eyes. For the first time, he saw not just an alien, not just a fugitive, but someone carrying a burden, far larger than herself. And somehow, in the chaos of it all, she had chosen him to share it with. His hands trembled, but he clenched them tight, pushing past his fear. Then we don't run forever, he said quietly but firmly. Fight. If you're telling me I matter in this, then I won't let you face it alone. Lyra's eyes widened slightly, surprise flashing across her face, but then a faint warmth softened her features. She lowered the glowing sphere, letting it fade until only the moonlight remained. For the first time that night, Alex saw her not as a stranger or a mystery, but as a companion, someone bound to him by fate, danger, and an unspoken connection neither of them fully understood. The silence returned, but now it felt different. Not heavy, not fearful, but waiting, like the pause before a storm. Somewhere in the distance, faint whispers and movements in the dark signaled that their pursuers had not given up. The danger was still near, but Alex no longer felt powerless. The truth had been revealed. Though the night was far from over, he knew one thing for certain. Their fight had only just begun. The next morning came with a heavy gray sky, the kind that promised rain but held it back as if the world itself was waiting for something to happen. Alex and Lyra moved cautiously through the empty streets, searching for a safe place to hide. The city no longer felt like home to Alex. It felt like a maze of shadows. Every corner hiding eyes, every sound threatening to reveal them. Lyra's glow was hidden now, dimmed until she seemed almost human. But Alex could sense the tension in her, like a storm barely contained. She walked silently beside him, her face calm, but her eyes scanning everything. Alex kept replaying her. Words from the night before, the war, the hunters, the key hidden inside her. It was too much for him to fully grasp. Yet deep down he knew he couldn't turn away anymore. He was part of it now. Still fear gnawed at him. He wondered how long they could run before they slipped up. That fear proved right when they turned down an alley and came face to face with someone. Alex recognized someone he thought he could trust. It was Marcus, his oldest friend. Alex, Marcus called, rushing forward. His eyes were wide, his expression desperate. Man, I've been looking everywhere for you. The news said there was an attack that people saw. Something. Are you okay? For a moment, Alex felt relief wash through him. Marcus had always been like a brother, someone who had his back when no one else did. But as Marcus's gaze flicked past him toward Lyra, something cold shifted inside Alex. Marcus's stare lingered too long, his expression twisting just slightly, almost hidden but not enough. Lyra didn't move. She stood still, her body tense, her glowing eyes narrowed. Alex noticed it too late. The faint pulse in her hands, the way she leaned back just enough, as if sensing danger. Who is she? Marcus asked quickly, his tone sharper now. Alex, you don't understand. You're in danger. People are searching for her. She's not what you think. Alex froze. His heart pounded as he looked between his best friend and Lyra. Marcus was breathing heavily, sweat dripping down his forehead despite the cold air. I can help you, Marcus said urgently. I know people. I can get her out of here before it's too late. Just trust me. But Lyra's voice cut through the air, calm but unshakably firm.
She's lying.
Alex blinked, stunned. What? She's manipulating you, Marcus snapped. stepping closer, his hand reaching into his jacket. "Don't you see, Alex? She's dangerous. That's not even human standing next to you. Give her to me before more people die." Everything slowed in that instant. Alex saw Marcus's hand pulling something metallic from his coat's strange device. Not a gun, not anything Alex had ever seen before. A dull blue light glowed at its center. Bodo la 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 la. "That device," she whispered, her voice carrying a tremor of rage. "It belongs to them. You're with the hunters." Alex's stomach dropped as the truth slammed into him. His best friend, the person he had trusted for years, was not here to save him. He was here to betray him. Marcus's jaw tightened, his face hardening into something Alex had never seen before. "I didn't want it this way," Marcus admitted coldly. "But they promised me safety, Alex. They promised power. All I had to do was deliver her." He raised the device, its blue glow brightening. "Step aside." Alex's mind raced. His chest burned with disbelief and anger. "You're selling us out? After everything? After all the years we trusted each other?" Marcus's eyes flickered for just a second, a trace of guilt, but it vanished quickly. "The world is changing. Alex, you don't understand what she really is, what she carries. She's not a guest in your home, she's a weapon. And weapons don't get mercy." Lyra's glow flared suddenly, her voice steady but edged with fury. "And you are already lost." In one swift motion, light burst from her hands, colliding with the device Marcus held. The alley exploded in sparks as the strange machine shattered, sending Marcus stumbling back with a cry. The force of it threw Alex to the ground, his ears ringing, his vision blurring. He pushed himself up, his heart hammering, and saw Marcus. Struggling to rise, his face twisted with rage and desperation, Alex's mind was torn apart. This was his friend, someone he had trusted with his life. And yet standing there, he realized Marcus was now his enemy. There was no going back. Marcus staggered, pointing at Lyra with shaking hands. "They'll never stop. She'll destroy you, Alex. Don't you see? She'll use you until you're nothing." His voice cracked, not just with anger but with fear. Then, before Alex could stop him, Marcus stumbled into the shadows of the alley, vanishing into the maze of the city. Silence fell heavy once again. Alex stood frozen, his body trembling, his chest filled with a storm of emotions: betrayal, anger, sorrow, and something darker. The knowledge that Marcus wasn't gone for good. He would be back. And he wouldn't come alone. Lyra approached him slowly, her glow dimming again. Her voice was soft, filled with a strange mix of sorrow and understanding. "You trusted him, and he betrayed you. I am sorry, Alex." Alex swallowed hard, his hands clenching into fists. His world had shifted again, broken in a way that could never be fixed. But as he looked at Lyra, standing beside him, her glow still shimmering faintly in the gray dawn, he knew one thing. He couldn't walk away. Not anymore. The betrayal had cut deep, but it had also burned away the last of his doubts. He was in this fight not just for her, not just for himself, but because the truth had become clear. The hunters were closer than ever, and the war Lyra carried inside her was no longer just hers. It was his too. The night was thick with silence, but Alex could feel the storm coming. Every sound in the empty streets felt louder, sharper, like the world was holding its breath. Lyra walked beside him, her glow faint, as if she was saving every last bit of strength for what she knew was coming. The betrayal of Marcus had cut deeper than any wound, yet it also hardened Alex's resolve. There was no more space for doubts, no more questions about whether to trust her. The hunters were coming. Marcus would return with them. And this time they wouldn't stop until they had her, until both of them were dead. They found themselves in an abandoned train yard at the edge of the city, a place filled with rusted tracks and hollow train cars. The kind of place where screams could vanish into the night without anyone hearing. Lyra stopped and turned to him, her glowing eyes reflecting the dim light of the moon. "They are close," she whispered. "This is where it will end." Alex swallowed hard, his chest tight. But when she reached out and placed her hand on his, the fear twisted into something stronger, courage he didn't know he had. Then the air shifted, and shadows spilled across the yard as figures stepped out from the darkness. The hunters had arrived. There were more of them than Alex could count, their armor gleaming with cold, alien light, their weapons humming with energy that made the air vibrate. At their center stood Marcus, his face pale but burning with a strange fire. He looked at Alex not with friendship, not even with hate, but with pity, as if Alex was already a ghost. "You had your chance," Marcus said, his voice echoing. "Through the yard, you could have walked away. But you chose her. And now, you'll fall with her." His words struck like knives, but Alex didn't flinch. He stood beside Lyra, his fists clenched, his voice firm. "Then we fall together." The hunters moved as one, their weapons raising, the hum growing louder until it felt like the earth itself was trembling. But before they could strike, Lyra's glow erupted. It was no longer faint, no longer hidden. Her entire body shone like a star, light spilling out of her as if she was no longer just flesh and bone, but pure energy. The hunters staggered back for a moment, shielding their eyes, and Alex felt the power surge through the air, hot and alive, making every hair on his body stand on end. "I was never your weapon," Lyra said, her voice ringing like thunder. "I was your warning." And with that, she unleashed it. Light exploded outward, slamming into the hunters like a tidal wave. Their weapons cracked and shattered, their armor melting under the sheer force. The night filled with screams and sparks, the yard glowing as if a second sun had risen. Alex shielded his eyes but didn't step back. He watched her, awe and fear mixing in his chest, as Lyra fought not just with strength, but with something deeper, something raw and unshakable. Every blast of light was filled with pain, with sorrow, with the weight of everything she had endured. Yet for all her power, the hunters kept coming. Marcus shouted commands, dragging them forward, his voice breaking with desperation. He raised a new device, one larger and darker than before, a weapon forged for one purpose only: to end her. Alex saw it a moment before she did. His heart stopped. Without thinking, without hesitating, he ran. He threw himself between Marcus and Lyra just as the weapon fired, a beam of violent energy ripping through the air. Pain tore through his body like fire, his scream lost in the roar of battle. Lyra cried out, her light flickering, her hands reaching for him as he collapsed to the ground. Marcus froze, his face twisting in shock, as if even he hadn't expected Alex to make that choice. The hunters faltered, their attack breaking for just a second. And in that second, Lyra's glow surged back stronger than ever. She knelt beside Alex, tears streaming down her face, her light wrapping around him like a shield. "You gave me your trust," she whispered. "Now I give you my life." The ground trembled as her power erupted in a final, unstoppable wave. The hunters were lifted off their feet, their armor tearing apart, their weapons burning into ash. Marcus screamed, his voice lost as the light swallowed him, his body vanishing into the blaze. The entire train yard shook as if the world itself was breaking apart, until at last the light dimmed, the screams faded, and silence returned. Alex opened his eyes slowly, the pain still burning but dulled by the warmth surrounding him. Lyra was there, glowing faintly now, her strength nearly gone. She smiled, though it was weak, her voice trembling. "You saved me, but in truth, I think you saved us both." He reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly, his throat thick. With emotion, we saved each other. Around them, the yard was empty. The hunters were gone. The war they carried with them had ended here, at least for now. As the first light of dawn broke across the horizon, painting the sky with gold and fire, Alex and Lyra stood together amid the ruins. The world had changed. They had changed. Lay ahead was uncertain, more battles, more secrets, more dangers waiting in the shadows. But one truth was unshakable. They were no longer alone. Whatever came next, they would face it together.